it's Marian. So today I thought of sharing with you some early spring growth updates in my plant collection. This is amazing actually and kind of crazy. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I know everyone's excited about spring, about the growing season. Our plants have started to wake up, and I'm also very excited to share with you my plants that have started to show signs of growth or have pushed out new growth early spring. And some of them are actually never really stopped growing over winter and never really went to dormancy. So today I want to share with you some of my plants that have really exciting growth right now, even though spring just has started, and you can see some of them right behind me. But before we start, hi, my name is Marian. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my Oasis Life, where I take you along my houseplant journey and share with you some of my tips and tricks along the way. And I also share lifestyle content that's focused on sustainability, productivity, wellness, and sharing some of my occasional personal vlogs and travel vlogs here and there. So if that type of content interests you, please make sure to subscribe before the end of this video, and also make sure to like and comment down below and share your thoughts with me. I would love to read them. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So the very first plant update, and the one that actually inspired me to do this video, is my Manjula pothos. As you can see, it's very full and very lush, but what I'm excited about this is its new growth. And I'm not sure if the lighting does it justice, but the new growth has been coming out, is more variegated, the white parts are whiter, and also the leaves are bigger. And if I can put the new growth side by side to the middle growth, you can see that the new growth is producing larger leaves and also has more creamier or whiter variegation compared to the ones in the middle that is a little bit more green and green than it is white and green that the Manjula pothos is known for. So I'm not really doing anything different with this one. It is hanging on my wall, and it is in a self-watering planter. And what's exciting about this for me is usually for plants, especially pothos, to produce bigger leaves, you have to put it on a trellis or a moss pole. But with this one, I didn't have to. It's just a trailing plant hanging on my wall, and it is producing larger leaves. So I'm really excited about that. And the next plant growth that I'm excited about is my Hoya Crimson Queen. So this one I had for a while, and I think a year or so ago I did try to cut it down to a much smaller size and took out a lot of the growth so I could put it in a much smaller pot. So as you can see, it has kind of bounced back since and has grown a lot since, but especially this winter it has started to produce a lot more white leaves, which is exciting. But what I'm really excited to share about this plant, which honestly I just kind of noticed now that I'm filming this video, is this part of the plant. So as you can see, it is producing white leaves, but is also producing leaves that has the white variegation inside, which is more of a characteristic of a Hoya Crimson Princess. You might think that I probably accidentally repotted a Hoya Crimson Princess with my Hoya Crimson Queen when I repotted it a while ago, so maybe that is the case. I don't really know, but it is connected to the one that is producing white leaves, so I think that's the reason that I repotted it with my Hoya Crimson Queen. And as I mentioned in my starter Hoya collection video, I do also have a Crimson Princess, which I'm going to show you next. And usually a Hoya Crimson Princess don't produce completely white leaves. I've only seen it with my Hoya Crimson Queen, but apparently if this one is a mix up and I just accidentally added a Hoya Crimson Princess with my Hoya Crimson Queen when I repotted it way back then, it can definitely produce leaves that are pretty white. This is amazing actually, and kind of crazy, and also very crazy that I only notice it now. But yeah, so this is kind of like an exciting update and revelation, or more of a realization, when it comes to my Hoya Crimson Queen. And as I just mentioned, I also want to share a quick update on my Hoya Crimson Princess. And unlike my Hoya Crimson Queen, I can't bring it down and show it to you because somehow one of the vines wrap itself around the bird cage that is hanging on top of it. And I guess I have to bring it down along with the bird cage in order for me to water it and clean the leaves off the Hoya Crimson Princess. But it's really a fascinating growth, and the thing is I don't want to disturb it and just kind of see what happens with it, but I also have to water it eventually. In fact, it's already due for watering. I water the Hoya Crimson Princess every the start of the month, and I guess I could just like pour water into it because it is in a Valley Eco planter where it has like some kind of a cash flow system. But we will see. I think I'm going to try to figure out how to water the plant and also allow it to keep growing on the bird cage and see what happens. And I think also in one of the vines may be a sign of a peduncle. I haven't had any of my Hoya plants bloom for me, but right now it is growing funkily on the bird cage, and that is, I guess, the most it can give me right now. But I still have the entire growing season ahead, so it might eventually bloom for me. fingers crossed. The next one that I'm talking about is not new to this channel, even if you just started watching me recently, because I declared this plant my favorite plant for the winter season, and it is my Monstera Standleyana Aurea, and it has grown quite a bit since I did my winter favorites video, and it actually pushed out as its new leaf is this half moon. So I'm really excited about that. As you can see, it's about to outgrow the pole it is in, so I am going to upgrade the pole that it has, and actually going to be putting a lot of my plants, well, a good number of my plants into poles and trellises, and I'm gonna make a whole video on that, so watch out for it. Now let's get onto the plants that I have right behind me, and let's start with this one. So the moonshine sanseveria. So I had this in a much smaller pot and it was starting to topple over, so I actually repotted this maybe a week or two ago, and also repotted some of the propagations that I had in water along with it. And it's kind of hard to see now, but when I was repotting it, there was like new growth popping out from the soil, so I'm really excited about that, and also with the new propagations. It's actually potted up in a plastic pot, and this terracotta pot doesn't have a drainage hole in it, so it's acting as a decorative cash bow for the snake plant. But I think the combination of the terracotta pot with the snake plant really elevated the look of this moonshine sanseveria. I have kind of like not paid attention to this plant for the longest time because it is a snake plant, and I'm not really into snake plant as much as I used to, but when I repotted it, it kind of like, it classied up, it kind of like leveled up. So I'm really excited about all the new growth it's pushing in, along with the plant propagations. It's also starting to push out new growth. Again, it's kind of hard to see because they kind of got buried when I repotted them, but there's kind of like new growth popping up from the soil, so I'm really excited about that. Next one is my syngonium chiapense, and this one has pushed out a new growth very recently, which is right over here. Not as large as the other leaves, but I think with this plant it's kind of like the Monstera. Even though the initial unfurling of the leaf, it is small, it does get bigger as it matures, so I'm really excited about that. It does have a plank where it can grow up on, but it needs to be stabilized a little bit, and actually it needs to be watered soon. So if you have been following me on Instagram, I actually put this plant up for sale, but luckily or unluckily no one has bought it yet. I mean, I did get a few offers on it, but I kind of declined it, maybe because I was hesitating on really selling that. I put like maybe a high price on this on Facebook Marketplace. So my logic was like, if people are willing to pay for it for that price, then I'm gonna let it go. But if not, I wouldn't. So I haven't really sold this one because I keep declining the offers. But I think the only time that I'll be really serious about giving this plant up is if I find a new plant that I want to add to my collection that I like as much, if not more. Because if you've been following me for a while, you know my new rule when it comes to my plant collection is if I want to bring something new in, I have to give up one that I already have, because it's not about keeping a very small plant collection, but having a very curated plant collection. So if I'm gonna add a new plant into my plant collection, it has to be something that I really want, and I have to give up something that I'm not too in love with anymore, or I'm just keeping just for the sake of. So it's also a way to keep my plant collection fresh and ever evolving. At least that's my logic behind it. But yeah, so this is my syngonium chiapense, but right now I'm enjoying the new growth that it is pushing out this early spring. Last but not the least, when it comes to plant growth updates, I want to share my orchids. As you can see, they are in their blooming season, and with this one, I think for the white one, I did apply cakey paste on it for it to rebloom, but for this purple one, I didn't. So it just rebloomed on its own, and I'm really excited about that. And in each pot, there's probably like 2 or 3 orchids because I kind of want to consolidate them and not have them in different pots. So this one, as you can tell by the number of blooms, or I don't know what you call this when it comes to orchids, I am very much a noob, but for each, like, you know, growth of flowers, you can see how many plants it has. This one has 3 in it, and this one has 2 in it. So like this plant and this plant, and I'm really excited about the growth because, you know, a lot of our houseplants are non-flowering houseplants, at least in my case. So when you get something that is flowering, especially during early spring, it's really a nice treat. So as you can see with this orchid, it's so pretty, and as well as with this one. And those are my plants that have been showing early growth at the start of spring, and I'm really excited about what they're gonna do for this growing season. And in my upcoming videos, I'll be sharing with you updates on my plant propagation that I've shown you either in my shorts or in my propagation video series from earlier this year, as well as I'm going to do my spring plant collection very soon, so do watch out for that. And if you're watching this from the future and those videos are out, I'll have them linked down in the description, so go check the description as well. But thank you so much for watching. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please do subscribe. I come up with videos every week. And if you haven't yet, check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and each other, and have a plentiful day. Bye!